So let's have a conversation around this with Kelvin Emmanuel. He's an energy expert and no stranger to the house. Good to have you. Compliments of the season.
Compliments of the
Merry
season
Christmas to you.
too.
Hope you've been able to enjoy with all this price slash and what have you. Enjoy the Yuletide.
It's a quiet holiday.
Right, quiet, right?
Yes.
Same here. Now, in this part, we always said that our economy defies all laws of gravity and defies logic. That in Nigeria, anything that goes up doesn't come down.
Yes.
What a miracle that we're having this situation now. Dangote has slashed the pump price of petrol as much as 200 naira per litre this year alone.
Yes.
And following that, you have NNPC doing the same, about 175 naira per litre reduction. I mean, this is exciting. These are exciting times. Tell us, what do you think is playing out here? Competition, pricing war is what we're looking at here. How is it helping the economy?
Well, I think it's good.
Right.
However, if you notice that there's a variance of prices in different parts of Nigeria,
yes,
because there is a need for a private sector-based petroleum equalization fund to finance the transportation of products around Nigeria.
Right.
Because of the cost of moving products around Nigeria. So when the Bureau of Public Enterprises, more than 15 years ago, designed the retail storage distribution centers, about 22 of them, the idea was to create like buffers in strategic locations to act as a strategic petroleum reserve for the country. And then enable a distribution of product through pipelines. That was why you had the Atlas Cove and Musimi that was vandalized in 2019. And it's still not been brought back to service. And if you look at the pipeline model that NNPC runs, it's a closed loop, not an open access model that doesn't bring in communities to benefit and to also provide security for the pipelines.
To own the facilities.
Exactly.
Right.
So you notice, for example, that Dangote is having to, he bought the trucks, he bought 4,000 CNG trucks, and he's having to provide a private sector bridging allowance to be able to take products around Nigeria.
Even though there's been a pushback on that.
Even if there's been a pushback on
quarters.
Yes, there's been a pushback, but he's not operating petrol stations. He's in distribution and logistics business. So he's not violated the Petroleum Industry Act in any way. But this is the reason why I've always been an advocate for backward integration through import substitution, because up until 2024, when it started, Nigeria was spending about $14 billion a year importing petrol. Nigeria was spending $28 billion a year importing petrol, diesel, jet A1, linear alkyl benzene, petroleum coke, residual fuel oils like base oil used for processing into lubricants, petrochemical feedstock used for propylene, polyethylene, polyvinyl crystals for your plastics, and all kinds of pharmaceutical feedstock, right? $28 billion. This is why I've always said the benefits of having a refinery is that it gives you economies of scale. And this is why I've also said that, listen, if you can change your model from exporting all the crude oil Nigeria brings to surface.
Yes.
So, for example, this 2025, Dangote spent $6.5 billion importing crude oil by 100 million barrels of crude oil into Nigeria. You can imagine the impact of that on the FX market if he's having to instead buy that crude oil from Nigeria instead of importing from America and other countries. It gives you economies of scale.
Part of the reason why we're all excited when the refinery was coming on stream. One of the benefits was to save Nigeria about $40 billion yearly.
But then let's look at the supply chain. Is he getting crude oil feedstock in Nigeria? Only about 45% of the crude oil feedstock is actually sourced in Nigeria. Number one. No. So is he able to, get the support of the regulator to be able to penetrate the markets downstream?
Right.
You've seen all the fights, because you've had a situation, for example, where between November and December, products worth $1.6 billion, about 1.8 billion liters of PMS was imported into Nigeria.
And we continue to ask, why exactly are we
And we continue to ask, why exactly are we still importing? We also notice that, look, at the ports of entry, the regulator, until now, does not have labs to actually test the integrity of the products and make sure they align with the Petroleum Industry Act.
And
is that fair competition? Because Dangote has one of the best labs of all the refineries in the world that tests for the products, and it complies with the PIA on sulfur limits and all the other test standards that are required. So if you have fair competition in the markets, the competition should not be some set of marketers importing products that the regulator cannot verify the integrity of the quality test, the certificate of quality, to compete against a refinery that is complying with the Petroleum Industry Act. The goal should be that you have statistical modeling, national travel survey. You have things like vehicle fleet management. You have things like cross data and audits, like GPS telematics that you can use to independently verify Nigeria's actual daily consumption, because that daily consumption data is critical in planning.
There's a big question mark around it.
There's a big question mark around it. That daily consumption data is what you use to determine, do we still need more refineries in Nigeria? Yes, we do. For example, right, to be able to ensure that there's competition and Nigeria gets to a phase where it becomes a net exporter of refined petroleum products. That daily consumption data is what the government also needs to use to plan on how much inflow of FX and inflow of FX that goes out and come in, and your balance of trade for the petroleum sector. So it's a very critical data that if you don't have integrity in, it will stifle government planning.
Right, and that's the challenge right now.
That's the challenge. That's why I'm.
So how do we bring that transparency? I mean, the whole is it unbundling of the NNPC privatization and all the rest of it around NNPC, the National Oil Company, was supposed to address some of these, questions of opaqueness and what have you in the oil sector. But that's not being taken care of, is it? Now, NNPC is reducing its pump price, following Dangote's example. Again, is it sustainable? Are we likely to see further reduction in the pump price of petrol? How low can it get for us to really be excited in Nigeria?
NNPC cannot compete with Dangote.
Right.
NNPC is a shareholder. They were supposed to get 20%. They, didn't fulfill the terms of the share purchase agreement, so they have 7.2%, which I think was, in hindsight, a very terrible decision that NNPC took. The so-called government-owned refineries are out of service. They are not operating. $3 billion was wasted in 6 years and nothing came out of it. And even if it was operating, it was converting to naphtha and then blending with resins, to form what the regulator was not even testing and verifying past integrity, test for certificate of quality according to the PIA. So NNPC cannot compete with Dangote as it stands in terms of price, because he owns a refinery that is active and functional and that's not only serving Nigeria, but is also exporting products overseas. They don't. Whatever products they are selling, they are sourcing from imports today. So there's no way and NNPC is not a regulator. NNPC is a company that is subject to the Petroleum Industry Act. So for me, I have a question on the license to operate that NNPC refinery has is still subject to the terms and conditions provided by the regulator, which is NMDPRA. The question is, the new ace of NMDPRA, is it going to take the gauntlet and ensure that everybody, regardless of whether you're a state-owned enterprise or not, complies with the Petroleum Industry Act? So NNPC does not have the economies of scale in any sense to compete with Dangote.
So you don't see NNPC sustaining this price?
They are operating at a loss. If they keep reducing price because they want to compete with Dangote that has economies of scale, and that operates a refinery that produces 44 million liters of PMS daily, they will operate at a loss just to keep up appearances.
Marketers' Body, Petrol, has been saying, look, there's a need to actually, sell off or privatize the 4 comatose refineries. NNPC has said, no, we're just going to review it. We're not going to be selling them outright. Do you agree? Which position do you line up with? Should it just be, privatized totally, or just review it and see what we can still make of it, of the refineries?
The monies that were spent for turnaround maintenance between 2019 and 2024 was borrowed with Nigeria's crude oil as collateral through a wholesale agreement. Afrexim contributed $1 billion to that $3 billion loan. Nobody is asking questions about how that monies were spent. Those refineries they are not going concerns. They are not. It just doesn't make sense. The $30 billion is equivalent to about 4.5 trillion and is nearly the size of Nigeria's entire defense budget. I mean, if you're giving that money to the defense, to the Nigerian military, it would have produced better security results than NNPC that wasted the money. So I don't see any way that any sensible company that is allowed to operate. And this is
so
always
what
been
is
my
NNPC
view.
up to?
This has always been my view, that there's too
mean,
much interference from the State House. The State House should allow NNPC to run, send it to the markets, allow it to run as a proper company. Let the board and management decide if NNPC is a going concern and if it's a commercial viable asset that can operate and make profit for the shareholders.
Right.
In my view, those refineries are dead. They are not coming back to life. So the question is, which company is in a sensible mind want to bring their hard-earned dollars to actually buy NNPC refineries and compete with Dangote that has a brand new refinery in Lagos?
Well, thankfully, Dangote has told Nigerians to reject overpriced petrol as the new price he's giving us, 739. We're hoping that the prices will come down even more.
I absolutely believe that Nigerians are very sensible and wise to know that Dangote's petrol is based on PIA specifications, and the price difference provides them a leverage in this very difficult financial times, and they know where to go.
Kevin Emmanuel, I have good news for you. Nigeria has just scored against Tanzania, 1-0. How about that? I'm glad you put a smile on your face. Thank you very much for joining us on Newsnight.